Great. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining and watching. I'm going to share my screen for a brief opener before I hand it over to Grace to share some information about transferring and transferring tips and 101 information. So I just have a few beginning slides to go over. So this is Monday, October 20th, navigating the path to successful college transfer. My name is, sorry, I should go over an introduction. My name is Erin Redshirt. I'm a college success coach here at the American Indian College Fund. I'm an enrolled member of the Rosebud Sioux Tribe in Ogallala, Lakota on my dad's side. Currently based in Denver, Colorado, and I've been with the College Fund for going on 4 years now. And I also have transfer experience as well. I graduated May 2020 with my undergrad in psychology, my Bachelor of Arts in Psychology and minor in Native American Studies. But I started out at my local community college and transferred out about 3 years in. And yeah, I also have a lot of transfer experience and expertise, but let me go into the agenda of what we'll be speaking on this afternoon. So the first thing that we'll be going over is I've invited Grace here from TOCC, as she works with a lot of students who are interested in transferring from TOCC to other universities and colleges in around her area. So she'll be going over a 101 session. She brought some slides that she'll be going over. The second thing that we'll be doing is we have a recording of a transfer discussion with Joseph Morales. He's one of our new student ambassadors, and he also worked closely with Grace on his transfer experience from TOCC to Arizona State University. And so he has a lot of important tips and tricks and just his experience of what it was like to be a transfer student, especially transferring from this fall semester to the spring semester to a different university institution. So it'll be nice to hear his perspective. We'll save some room if anybody has any or any questions. And then at the end, I'll go over how to access our event evaluation for today. So without further ado, I'm going to stop sharing and turn it over to Grace. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Erin. I appreciate your intro, and I also appreciate your opportunity to come on and share with you today. So, hi everyone. My name is Grace Salcido Siqueiros. I am an academic advisor and career specialist here at the Donna Otham Community College. I started here at TOCC back in 2023, and it has been going strong. Happy National Transfer Week. I also am hosting some transfer events this week here at TOCC, so I'm super excited about that. I do have a slide show here, so let me share my screen and we can get started. So hopefully everyone can see this okay. Transferring 101 from TCU to a university. This is your path from associate to bachelor's degree. What does transferring mean? First off, moving from a TCU or another community college to a university to continue your degree. Ideally, most students will be at a TCU community college working towards their AA degree and then transfer on towards a university to go into a bachelor's program. Your credits from the TCU or community college do count towards a bachelor's degree, so you're not starting over. At a TCU, transferring means building on your cultural and academic and personal strengths. Why transfer? Earn your bachelor's degree, opening up career and graduate school opportunities, access more majors and programs, gain new experiences and networks, and of course, representing our tribal colleges and universities and your community. Again, some students who decide on transferring may not go into a TCU or community college with the intention of transferring, and then it comes to them a little later, whether it's the joy and passion that they find while working on their AA, or maybe an experience that they have while at their TCU or community college that drives them to think, maybe I can do a bachelor's program. Maybe I do want to further my education. And why not, right? We can. And if you would like to, there's so many people around you that are willing to help support you in that journey. Key transfer terms to know. These are often terms that I have gotten questions about, and so I felt like these are some important ones to share. So we have, first off, articulation agreement. This shows which of your classes will transfer. Transfer credit evaluation, how your TCU courses count, or community college. Major requirements. This is the classes that you need for your degree that you're pursuing. General education, or also called Gen Eds, are your core subjects like math and writing. Prerequisite, or also known as prereq, are classes that are required before another class. For example, say your degree has a requirement for calculus. That's a high-level math class. But in order to take calculus, you may have to take at least 1 to 2 lower-level math classes to get there. And this is definitely to support the students to make sure that they are prepared when they get to that high-level class. Upper division typically is being referred to those junior and senior level courses at the university. So when you think about TCU community college that are 2-year programs, associate degrees, they're likely 100, 200 level courses. When you move on to university into a bachelor's program, you start to see those 300 and 400 level courses. Residency requirement are credits you must complete at the university. So typically when you're looking at universities, you're going to want to make sure you're looking at how much of those requirements are there that you need to complete. Steps. Try to move this thing out of the way. Oh no, went too far. Let me try this. Steps to a successful transfer. Meet with your TCU academic advisor early and often. Research universities and majors. Use articulation tools, looking at degree pathways. Apply on time. Send official TCU transcripts. Apply for financial aid and scholarships. And connect with university native tribal support offices. That one I feel like is really important. Sometimes when we are moving on to a university from a TCU or a community college, it is sometimes a bit of a culture shock. And so seeking out the support and resources from the native or tribal centers there is helpful. You can get connected and network with people there, as well as having support and a community already around you in that area. There's also different clubs and organizations that you could possibly get connected with as well. Important dates and deadlines for fall transfers is definitely a good idea to at least apply by between the February and March area. You're going to want to make sure you are double checking those university deadlines because they do differ, but you want to at least try and get everything submitted and completed between that February and March time period. Of course, if you wanted to do this a little bit earlier in the game, like January, even better. For a spring transfer, you're going to want to definitely pay attention to the time period between September through October. A lot of those deadlines fall within that time, so you want to make sure you're on top of your game, on top of the important documents you might need to submit. And then again, for the spring and fall transfer, it is a little bit different. So being ready and prepared for that spring transfer is helpful because typically when students transfer into a fall semester, they have the summer to prepare. When you transfer into a spring semester, you don't have a lot of time like the summer. You have the end of the fall and then a couple of weeks and then the spring starts. So you want to make sure that you're staying on top of those deadlines, making sure to complete and submit everything. FAFSA opens October 1 each year. And then scholarships often are due early spring or summer. So if you're applying for scholarships, you're going to want to make sure that you're making those deadlines, those closing dates, whatever it might be. I would definitely encourage you to try not and wait to the very last day of a deadline, because sometimes when students are trying to apply and submit their applications, typically online, typically through the website, sometimes there are traffic jams, it gets clogged up, the site crashes, the network slows, whatever it might be. Those IT issues that come up, they might be present when you're submitting on the closing day or that deadline day of that scholarship. And so having those IT problems be in existence for you and not getting that scholarship is really preventable. So if you can get your application in, the sooner the better, before those deadline days, closing days, even better, so you don't have to run into those IT issues that are definitely possible. Tips for transfer success: organization. Keeping a transfer folder with all your info is going to be super helpful for you. Meet your university transfer reps during events. So things like this, with like the American Indian College Fund is hosting the webinar series. This will be a nice way to get resources and get in connection with some of these university transfer reps and go from there. Of course, maintaining a strong GPA. Visit potential campuses. Sometimes it's nice to be able to visit the campus you're thinking about or making a decision between two separate ones, so that way you can actually get the feel for it, see things for yourself, network and see the resources there on campus. And then quick things to consider or ask about when you're meeting or visiting these potential universities are housing. What does that look like for you? Is there student housing, dorm housing, apartments? How does childcare work? Is there childcare available? Are there childcare resources or distance options? And make sure you're definitely going to want to attend university orientation programs. I know sometimes they can be a bit heavy, they're fully loaded, but that's definitely going to be the most wealth of information you're going to find and get at the beginning, and be able to get contact information, and ask any questions that you may have or might come up. That's going to be your chance to do that. So definitely I want to encourage students to make sure they attend those orientation programs. Using your TCU resources or community college resources, your academic advising and faculty advisors. They're there to help you in that planning and support you. Transfer service, articulation info, fairs, workshops, utilize those to the best that you can, to help you in creating those transfer paths, making networks and contacting some of these university transfer reps. Financial aid office, the FAFSA and scholarships that you may be utilizing there, and how and what process you might need to do to start that at the university level. What does that look like? What you might need, and making sure that you're in communication with not only the financial aid office there at your current TCU or community college, but at the next institution you go to, the university you're planning to transfer to. Tutoring and writing centers are going to be definitely great to prep for that upper division work, but as well as maybe if you're working on scholarship essays, things like that, it's definitely helpful to have that extra tutoring session in there. And then, of course, career services, connecting degrees to careers. What does that look like for you? What opportunities are within your degree in that field? The tribal college perspective. Tribal colleges honor Indigenous values and community. Transferring means carrying cultural knowledge forward. Look for universities with Native support programs. This is something that I um, personally have done, because I do want to be able to be part of that community and have that still within my educational journey. So it was important to me. And if that's something that's important to you, I would definitely make sure you're looking at those kinds of things. Staying connected to your roots while you're pursuing your goals. I mean, we definitely want to be able to, in whatever space we end up in, be able to reflect back on where we're coming from. And so having those supports in place, those communities being built, are going to definitely help and support you in your educational journey. Challenges and how to overcome them. Now, granted, this is a short list. There's many different challenges that could come up, and there's not always a direct solution to them. But for this purposes, I thought these are the most common ones that I see, and how might we aid that solution. So navigating a larger campus. Again, connecting with those Native student centers are going to be helpful because they've been there on the ground. They can help you with tours or get you met up with another student that has been there and can show you around, take a look at your schedule, and show you which buildings are where. Filling out a place. Again, those Native centers or transfer organizations can help connect you with some clubs that you might be interested in, or some events that they might be hosting that you would like to attend, making new friends, community, whatever it might be, to help you not feel so out of place, to help you build new roots in a new place. Academic transition. This can also be something that is a little bit daunting, from going from a TCU to community, from a community college TCU to a university, especially when class sizes are a lot bigger. And it's something that I think we overlook because we're so caught up in our transfer process and everything. But there are services there at the university to help you, those tutoring and advising services that can really help you if you need that help in that way. Making sure to reach out and communicate that help early on, communicating with your professors, so that way you're getting the help and the support that you need. And financial barriers. Again, for this one, my go-to is going to be scholarships, applying early for scholarships and as many as you can get. Definitely utilizing organizations like the American Indian College Fund to find more scholarships that you can apply for, making hopefully the effort to find as much of that scholarship funding out there to get you through your educational journey at that university, and then so on if you choose to go to a master's program or doctoral. Scholarships and financial support. Again, you have the FAFSA, which is the federal aid, Pell Grants, tribal scholarships through your nation, your community, American Indian College Fund, and many more. Then, of course, there are university scholarships, which are transfer-specific awards. This might be coming from the university themselves. Sometimes we see this a lot, like with athletic scholarships, things like that. Here in Arizona, we have a specific scholarship through Northern Arizona University, which is called Access to Excellence. And it is for Native American students that are going to attend NAU and be in person at their Flagstaff campus, allowing them to apply their grants or scholarships to their tuition, and then whatever might be left over, this Access to Excellence is going to cover that. So again, university specific, transfer specific awards, starting early. Funds are often first come, first serve. So the sooner you get your applications in, the better. Voices of experience. This is just a couple of quotes that I've pulled from a couple of students I've talked with on what their experiences were. So the first one is transferring was challenging, but my TOCC foundation helped me succeed. TOCC prepared me academically, culturally, and personally. Don't be afraid to ask for help. I know it can be hard to ask, but there are so many people ready and willing to help. So you definitely, if anything, walk away from this webinar with the encouragement to ask for help, to communicate that, because there are people who want to help you. And I feel like if you are willing to ask for that help and get your goals, put in the work for your goals, that it will come to you. Those people will surround you, they'll support you. And I hope that these things will help you stay connected and you share your journey with future TCU students, future transfer students that you can encourage, that you can motivate and light the way and path for them where they might be in your shoes one day or in your position one day, and you'll be able to offer that guidance and encouragement. So what are our next steps? Meet with your academic advisor. Attend university sessions during National Transfer Week. Explore majors. Plan your timeline. And most importantly, believe in yourself. You belong wherever your education takes you. So take up that space and make sure your voice is heard. If there are any questions, I'm definitely here to offer my answers if I can or help find them. So don't hesitate to reach out. Erin, thank you so much for this opportunity. I appreciate that. Let me go ahead and stop this share.
Yes, thank you so much, Grace. I love the note that you ended it on because your education really is what you make it, and the biggest advocate for yourself is you. So having the confidence to really take those steps and get connected in the areas where you can take you a long way. So thank you, Grace, for being here. Yeah, if anybody has any questions, feel free to shoot them in the chat. Grace, feel free to also put your contact information in the chat box if anybody would like to reach out afterwards or whenever they have questions. Yeah, feel free to stick around if you can, Grace. If you have something to do, that's okay. I'm gonna go ahead and share the discussion that we had with Joseph Morales last week. So yeah, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Erin.
Yeah, thank you. So as I said, I'm going to be sharing a quick little video. Our student ambassador, Joseph Morales, is completing his first year at Arizona State University after transferring from TOCC. And he worked really closely with Grace while he was at TOCC. So he unfortunately couldn't be here this afternoon, but he was available to pre-record a session with us, which was very generous. And so here is a discussion between Grace and Joseph on their experience working together and his experience transferring. So I'm going to share this and hopefully the sound shares. I'm clicking the button that says share sound. So let's cross our fingers. And we'll go ahead.
Well,
Hello, everyone. My name is Grace. I'm an academic advisor and career specialist at the Thanatam Community College. And today I have the pleasure of sitting here with Joseph. And we're just gonna kind of talk about his transfer experience from moving from TOCC to his transferring university. So, Joseph, would you like to introduce yourself before I give you this next first question?
Yeah. Hello, everybody. I'm Joseph Morales, enrolled member of the Thon Autumn Nation, as well as a new student ambassador with the College Fund. I'm just here to talk about how I navigated my transfer experience from a small tribal community college to a big mainstream university.
Awesome. So I'm so glad to be here with Joseph. So the first question I have for you is, what was your motivation to transfer from TOCC in fall 2024 to ASU in spring 2025?
Yeah, I think the big kind of reason why was because I was finishing at TOCC that semester and I wanted to continue my educational journey. So looking at schools, I wanted to stay somewhere familiar, and that was Arizona State University, and transferred there in spring 2025.
Awesome. Um, would you say that ASU was there like a specific deciding factor in picking ASU? I mean, there's three universities here in Arizona that are could be fairly, close to home, but was there something prominent to you that stood out for choosing
Right,
ASU?
right. Yeah, U of A, University of Arizona, was my first kind of selection I wanted to go. That was a big dream school in Arizona. It's really U of A or ASU. But when I did my application, things just went, or my application with ASU seemed to go really smoothly. And it seemed like a lot of things were just aligning to go there. And I felt that was the right decision. And that's what I picked. And now I'm Sun Devil.
Nice. So definitely just aligned well for you.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. Okay, so the next question here I have is, can you describe what made the transition to ASU smooth? Were there any specific resources or people that may have helped you through that process?
Of course, well, you were one of them, Grace. You were one of them that helped me kind of look into transferring. And then when I applied to ASU, they had a really good system where you seem to go in different phases. They looked at your credits and maybe what programs you wanted and got you set up with courses. And then you had a success coach there. These were all people that, weekly I was going through these different phases and meeting these individuals that were getting me set up for the spring, which at that time was still a little months away. So it seemed like they're really on top of all of, my paperwork, getting me set up and being as comfortable as I can. And it went very smoothly, that there was hardly any errors or frustration on their end. It just seemed to go pretty perfect.
That's
Yeah.
super awesome. And I'm really glad that you got to experience that. And, you know, much gratitude and appreciation to you for coming to me for that help and support during that time. I'm glad that I could do that for you. It was great to see you evolve through your program and graduate and then to transfer, I'm super proud of you and I'm glad, everything has worked out and that when and how to reach out for those supports when you need them.
Of course.
Awesome. So, okay, the next question here is application timelines are a major factor in one's transfer journey. What advice would you give to students on handling these timelines, especially for those transferring in the spring?
Right. I would say those transferring from fall semester to the spring starting at a new university. I mean, you really have to, I mean, before the semester starts, already getting all that stuff settled because transferring from spring to fall, you kind of have the big summer break to get things in order. You have maybe, I mean, I had maybe about 2 weeks, if that. And so as the semester was going, again, I talked to Grace even before my fall semester started with TOCC to really get my things in order, and just have a lot of time and be very efficient with the time you have and managing a lot of things, documents for scholarships, finishing your semester, and of course looking at your new university. So definitely, I mean, give as much time as you can to really get all these things in order, and it'll help, especially it'll help relieve frustration and stress because it will be stressful, but it'll definitely relieve all that if you get things in order, make sure you're on time, and of course, ask the staff and advisors for help. That's what they're there for. Again, Grace was that person for me. So just taking all these tips and advice and using them effectively.
That's super awesome. And I definitely agree with you. You're definitely right. Um, Crunching between the fall semester to spring transfer can be a little bit of a task. And so rallying up that support, you're definitely right. It's going to be in the best. I mean, my top thing is that whole process, applications for transfer can really um be a less stressful situation the earlier you plan and go into it. And organization is definitely key because it can get a little chaotic, especially if you have options to consider between different universities.
Right.
So that I'm right there with you on that one. Alrighty. Were there things you had to keep in mind in terms of planning your coursework and or having to take additional courses?
I would say from my experience, no. I mean, again, it kind of tied into being time efficient because I remember I didn't know if I was going to be able to finish in the fall because one of my courses, they kind of they closed. There was no seats available. I was looking maybe spring, and then something opened up, so allowed me to finish my coursework. But definitely being on top of everything, like I mentioned previously, because there may be hiccups in the semester that you're just not factoring. So again, just try to be flexible, but also do what you need to do to make sure you transfer smoothly. That's the best advice I could give.
And that is very good
Mhm.
advice. You definitely lived through that one. And I think that because you were very much involved and aligned with your transfer path, you curated that for yourself in such a good way and reached out for those support and resources to do that. I think that that definitely gave you a great smooth transition going from one transfer path to the next. So that's really awesome. All right. Next question. What strategies did you use to adapt to new plans and environments during your transfer journey?
Right. I would say kind of adapting to a new environment would be when I kind of started working with the ASU staff. That was when I really had to adapt to a new place. I'm an online student, but I tend to meet online with advisors like Grace, like Heather at TOCC, and building a relationship with them, going through my coursework, what I wanted, what I needed, and of course they knew that as well. But when I started focusing solely on ASU, that was a bit, you know, I definitely had to open my mind a little because they're new individuals, a new team that I was working with that I didn't have a relationship with. So, just being open to them helping me and of course reaching out, when I wanted help. That was the only time I kind of really had to adapt because it was something completely new, and you tend to get a little, at least for me, get a little afraid of not knowing. And but they did an awesome job, and again, that was the only time I really had to adapt in this kind of transfer experience that I went through.
I'm really glad that it worked out nicely for you in that area. I know it can be a little bit daunting, or we tend to get a little shy when we have to ask for help, especially when we're in those new environments and whatnot. But I definitely commend your tenacity and courage in doing that. Next question. In terms of financial aid, what specific support and resources did you find most helpful?
The most helpful was kind of scholarships I already had, and travel funding that I had that would follow me when I transferred. The only thing was, again, kind of going back to being time efficient, kind of had to redo all those and cater them to my new school. But they're super helpful. They all transferred smoothly. And even the new financial aid team that I was working with at ASU, they did a really good job in making sure that a lot of these things, like an FNA form, um, my FAFSA was all catered to ASU, and they even had a team that worked solely with Native students, which was super helpful because they kind of know what to look for with different Native American scholarships and travel funding. So that all went smoothly as well.
And would you say there was something different in that process because you were a fall transfer to spring student?
Um, yes, it. I remember. I think I had to like start submitting financial aid stuff for ASU while I was still doing TOCC courses, and that was a bit strange because depending on how I did determined if some of these scholarships would, if I'd be on probation for them or not. I was confident I'd pass my courses, but that was a little weird because it was kind of up in the air, 50-50. But again, they did really well in making sure that these documents go here, and this team focuses solely on Native American students, and they kind of seem to get it all in order in a timely fashion, which was super helpful.
Awesome. So it definitely sounds like having that team with that focus is beneficial. And I definitely think that, we come circle back to that organization, because I'm pretty sure that played a big part in it, especially when you're making those transitions from
Right.
fall to spring.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so next question here is, um, for highlighting the importance of getting started early, what are the first steps you'd recommend to someone considering transferring, especially if they were to take your route and go from fall to spring?
Right. I would say first thing to consider is how much time and effort is going to go into transferring, especially from spring or from fall to spring. Like I mentioned throughout, time being time efficient and organized are the two big things you need to have. But also, I mean, there's a lot of factors. For me, being an online student, that helped a little bit. I also, I looked at in-person routes. That is a whole nother topic because you got to factor in like dorms, parking, transportation, in or on campus tuition, and those tend to have different forms as well. So I remember, that was also a big factor on why I chose ASU because I was online. U of A, I was going to go in person, but I kind of started to fall behind in these forms. So just making sure you have good, time management skills and you're very organized, because if you're thinking of transferring, I mean, you have to start before even those applications, for these schools you're looking at, before they even go available. Start already getting things in order then, because I thought I, was organized and in order. I quickly realized, okay, I gotta pick up my time management organization a little bit. And transferring from the fall to spring, you maybe have 2 weeks of that winter break to really get things in order if you're behind. So you can't really mess around and not have, reminders daily, get things in order, because those deadlines will approach fast, and before you know it, you're like, oh, I don't have all my documents. So just be calm. It's going to be a crazy experience. Hopefully not too crazy, but you got to be on top of a lot of your documents. You got to be organized. I can't stress that enough. You got to have time efficiency. Can't stress that enough. And of course, have your support, your advisors there to help you. And whether, what other semester you transfer, you have those in order, you'll do smoothly in your transition to another school.
That's really awesome advice and information. And I think you definitely touched on some hard hitting points there. Do you have any other tips or advice that you feel would be super helpful for other scholars to hear that maybe you found out along your journey that kind of just stuck out?
Don't be afraid to reach out to help or for help. I would stress that, because it's good to have support. And it felt like when I was going through this experience, it felt like every week I was emailing Grace about updates, or, just to make sure I'm on the right path. And with ASU, with their team, it kind of was the same thing, just emailing them constantly. And it's never, to me, I felt like maybe I'm an annoyance, but also kind of going like, no, they're here to support you and help you. That's their whole, purpose with their education and being in this environment. So do not hesitate for reaching out to help and making sure that you have that support group around you.
That's wonderful advice. And I definitely would like to double up on that advice and encourage everybody out there in any form and fashion to ask for help, because I truly guarantee you that the people that, are in these positions, that's what they want to do. I definitely know for sure in my position as an academic advisor, as somebody who has gone through the other side as a student and transferring, I definitely feel that pressure or dauntingness to want to ask for help, but then realizing how much of a difference that makes reaching out for help and how that support can go a long way. And, unfortunately, I'm not a mind reader, but I do try and reach and extend that welcome and handout. So hopefully students will come just like you did, Joseph. And I'm, again, so proud to see the road you've been on. And I wish you all the best at the university. And I am still here as a support should you need to reach out again.
Right. And I still reach out. So even though I'm at this big school, I still reach out.
Exactly. Well, it was really great to sit and chat with you, Joseph. And thank you so much for taking this time to share your transfer experience with myself, even though I was there first audience,
Yeah.
but with other students here. And I hope that these students find this information helpful and will reach out for help as well. And I can't thank the American Indian College Fund enough for providing us with this platform and opportunity to share with our fellow students.
All right. thanks again to Grace and Joseph for being available for that discussion. The goal behind that was to highlight the important relationship between yourself as a student and staff members who are there to help you. If you go to a community college who doesn't have a specific transfer person in their title, it's always best to find your academic advisor or a faculty advisor, someone in that position that you can build a relationship with and ask those questions and feel comfortable enough to go to when you're lost or need clarification, because it can be a confusing process, especially if you are considering transferring out of state maybe, or just to a whole different community that you're not used to. Going from a smaller school to a bigger school can be incredibly intimidating, but maintaining those relationships with the staff members at your school can really take you a long way and provide you so many resources in the end. So once again, thank you or thank you to Grace and Joseph for showcasing that special relationship and highlighting the importance of connecting. So thank you. Let's see. If there are any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. I know we only have a few minutes left. But also Grace left her email in the chat. And if you have any questions, you can also email me. My email is eredshirt@collegefund.org. Yeah. And this is the last slide that we'll be going over. So this is the event evaluation. If you'd please take a couple minutes of your time to either scan the QR code or I'll put it in the chat as well. But take an opportunity to reflect with our event evaluation. If you're a scholar, this will mark your attendance for this webinar. So if you need to attend like a live event or a webinar, part of your scholarship agreement, scholarship agreement, this will also count. So definitely take that event evaluation so that way we have your name and we can mark you as attended. We will also be doing a raffle to win some prizes. So passion planner, some 8th gen pen sets, and more. So definitely take that opportunity. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the chat. And for those who attended but had to leave early, I will be sending a follow-up email as well. So you'll receive an email with this link as well if you don't get it right away. So yeah, let me just pop that in the chat. And yeah, thank you so much for being here tonight. And if you have any questions, I'm going to put my email in the chat as well. Thank you all, and I wish you good luck on your journeys throughout your educational experience, and wish you nothing but the best. And it'll be a bumpy ride, but it'll all be worth it in the end. So thank you for being here, and thank you so much, Grace, for also being here. Have a good evening.